Yeah, doing all right.
So how exciting is this?
It's very exciting. You know, it's obviously a great opportunity. Fired up about it. You know, really appreciative of Coach Witt's trust in me to get this deal done.
You're probably 10 years younger than other guys who would be considered young offensive coordinators. What do you say when you hear that?
Well, you know, I've been young for everything I've done in my life, so it's nothing new to me. You know, I've always believed that, you know, hard work pays off. So, you know, you got to continue to grind, keep working, and good things usually happen.
Are you ready for this? I mean, did you see this was coming this soon in your career?
Absolutely. You know, you know, I think it's a great opportunity for me, and you know, I've never been scared of anything in my life. So, you know, it's just a new challenge that life brings, and I'm ready for it.
What percentage of the plays did you call when you were quarterback?
It kind of just depends on the flow of the deal. You know, like towards the last 3 games of my senior year, when we started getting into it, it was, you know, within the system, you know, quite a bit of it was in my hands. So I don't know if you could put an exact percentage on it, but, you know, I know towards the latter part of my senior year, we had a lot on my plate offensively.
How does it differ from now as a coach calling plays?
You know, I think the biggest difference is obviously finding ways to understand who your guy is and who you're calling plays for, and putting them in position to be successful. So that's the starting point. You know, we're going to build this thing around our personnel and get those guys the ball in space and make it go from there.
So when you say you're going to build it around the personnel, you're running the spread, you're going more pro style, it depends on which of the 4 quarterbacks emerges?
Yeah, you know, and I think that's why we got spring ball to kind of fine-tune what we want to do to get ready for August and September. So, you know, it's a ton of talented players in this program. You know, John White, Devontae Christopher, Drez Anderson, Jordan Wynn. So, you know, we got some guys who played a lot of ball for us and understand what we're trying to get done. So, you know, my job is to put those guys in position to be successful.
Do you have an idea, though, what your system is going to be? I mean, like Norm had his system. Do you have an idea what your system is going to be?
Yeah, you know, I see us being very multiple on offense. I think, you know, we can have the ability to line up in a myriad of formations and personnel groupings. It's a ton of talent here. You know, obviously John White, Kelvin York, that allows us to run some 2-back stuff. And, you know, we have 4 or 5 receivers that we feel comfortable with putting in the game, have played a lot for us and have scored some points. And so, you know, I see us being very multiple on offense.
We've seen you quarterbacks very effective running the ball. We've also seen you quarterbacks get hurt running the ball, you a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like the idea of the quarterback running the ball because you risk injury, but you also make the defense account for him? Which way do you lean on that?
You have to be able to run the quarterback in college football. You know, the way this deal is going, you know, the day of just being a statue back there is over. You know, you got to have some mobility, whether it's just pocket mobility, being able to move in the pocket and finding time to throw the ball, or escaping the pocket and being able to gain some stuff with your legs. So, you know, understanding that it's 2 different types of mobility for quarterbacks, you got to have a mobile guy. And, you know, I think Jordan has some, you know, excellent feet inside the pocket. His strength's probably not, he's not going to break and get you a 50-yard run, but he can slide his feet in the pocket and find the ball and get it to a check down. And I'm excited about the 2 young guys we got coming in. You know, those guys, you just watched their highlight tapes yesterday. You could see that they got some athletic ability and can escape the pocket and get out of trouble.
Would you prefer to redshirt at least one of them? I mean, if they can get to 1 or 2 on the depth chart, then play them?
Yeah, I think it's too early to decide that right now. You know, you got to come in and see how they react in spring ball and go from there.
Brian, back to the age. What are the advantages and disadvantages of barely being older than the guys you're coaching?
Well, you know, I think, you know, obviously I relate to them. I was just in their shoes just 3 years ago. So I know the intricacies of this program inside and out from both levels now. And, you know, I understand what they're going through when they have to wake up at 5:30 in the morning to get here for a 6 o'clock workout. You know, I understand the time demands that is put on them with academics and with football and with weight training. So, you know, these guys, they have a lot on their plate, and, you know, I can relate to that. I understand that. And, you know, we'll have a good relationship. We have a good relationship with our players.
Replacing Coach Chow, what did you learn from him? What are you going to try to keep that he had here?
Well, you know, the thing Coach Chow had, he has such a wealth of knowledge. You know, he's been around, like I used to tease him, he's probably forgotten more football than most people know. So getting a chance to be around him for that 1 year and him kind of, you know, get a jump started to understand the defensive schemes that are played in this league and what defenses are trying to do to you in this league is something that, you know, I think our entire coaching staff kind of took from him.
How do you answer the critics that may say he doesn't have any experience as a coordinator and it may take a little while for him to adjust, and these aren't Mountain West defenses because that's what you played against primarily?
It's football, man. It's football. You know, it's not going to change. You still got 11 guys on defense that are trying to stop us. and we're trying to put the ball in the end zone. So, you know, people are always, you know, going to say what they're going to say, and I really have no control over that. So the bottom line is I got a job to do, and, you know, we've assembled a great offensive staff to help get that done.
What advice has Coach Whittingham given you?
You know, be myself. You know, be myself and understand the magnitude of this responsibility in the position. And you know, I think that that's something that that I've always taken pride in, and it's something that I've learned from him. You know, it's being detail oriented, paying attention to the small things, and just having your thumb on every issue.
When did Coach Whip first approach you about potentially taking the job, and how did that unfold?
Well, you know, it kind of started obviously once Coach Child left. You know, he had a bunch of guys come up and were interested in the job, but you know, obviously in college football, recruiting is priority. So, you know, it's recruit or die, especially in this league. So, you know, he had to find time to kind of mix that in between recruiting. So, you know, like he told you guys before, this thing's going to kind of probably take up until signing day. And, you know, I have Coach Witt's trust, and I completely trust Coach Witt 100% that he did his due diligence and came up with an answer for that, because he would do this program a disservice if he didn't. So, you know, I expect nothing else than that from Coach Whittingham, to take all the time he needs and to get all the facts and detail everything out before he made a decision.
As a coordinator now, will you have less recruiting responsibilities? Will they stay the same?
You know, we're still in the process of trying to figure all that out. But, you know, like I told you before, this league, you know, it ain't about the coaches now. I promise you that. It's about the players, and it starts with recruiting. So you got to be able to get great players in there, and it makes your job a lot easier. So, you know, recruiting is obviously the most important thing that we do in this entire program.
Was there still an element of surprise when the job was offered to you?
Not really. You know, I met with Coach Witt several times over the course of January, and you know, we kept in contact and had some good conversations. And you know, he knows what I'm all about. I know what he's all about. So, you know, for me, it was just a matter of time. You know, I knew he had to do his due diligence on the whole deal and make sure he felt good about everything. So, for me, it wasn't really that much of a surprise.
When a rough spot comes, a lot of guys can fall back on experience. Where are you going to fall back?
Well, you know, the thing is, you got to just keep working. And, you know, we've been in rough spots as players and as coaches. You know, we had started off this year 0-4 in conference play, and, you know, found ways to battle back and get ourselves to an 8-win season. So, you know, this program is kind of built on toughness. And, you know, when times are tough, that's what you need. You need to be mentally tough. And, you know, we pride ourselves on being mentally tough in this program and fighting through whatever storm we may have to weather.
Without the experience, so is there certain guys you'll fall back on?
Well, absolutely. You know, I think there's guys that have kind of helped shape who I am, not only as a player but as a coach. And, you know, like I said earlier, it kind of starts with Dan Mullen, the guy that brought me here, recruited me here out of Texas. And, you know, I still talk to him, you know, quite often. And he's the guy that kind of shaped my offensive philosophies. And obviously, you know, Coach Ludd and A-Rod obviously been huge influences on me. So, you know, those guys have kind of been through it all, and, you know, I look to those guys for a lot of support.
What does passing game coordinator mean to you, since that's Roderick's new title and you're the offensive coordinator? What will he be doing?
Well, you know, A-Rod is obviously my right-hand man. We have a great relationship, and that goes back to 2005. So, you know, I've known Aaron for an extremely long time, and, you know, I really respect his knowledge and everything that he brings to the table for us. So, you know, he's a guy that's been around, and he understands what we want to get done. And the best thing about it is that we think a lot alike philosophically, you know, so we're on the same page 99% of the time.
Have you talked to any of the current players, and what was their reaction?
You know, Coach Witt told them this morning, and you know, they were fired up, I think. So we'll get a chance after I leave you guys. We're going to start a QB meeting at 2:30, so we'll get a chance to kind of go over some stuff and get the ball rolling.
How much does it help to have a senior quarterback like Jordan Wynn in your first year as a coordinator?
Well, it's huge. You know, as you can see in this league now, it's all about quarterbacks. You know, and if you don't have one, it'll show and it'll hurt you. So, you look at the top teams, you know, top 3 or 4 teams in this league, they all got NFL guys at quarterback. So we gotta have Jordan step up and be ready to make plays for us and take us to the deal.
Lots of coaches talk about playing at a really high tempo, and when we see Urban do it and we see Chip Kelly do it, we see the results. Other coaches, including people who've been here at the U, don't seem to stress it so much. What do you think of that?
Well, you know, my philosophy with tempo, I think that the biggest thing that you can talk about is not necessarily always going fast or always not going fast, but it's the change of tempo is what causes defenses the most consternation usually. So, we played Oregon a couple years ago and they went fast, but Kalani did a great job. They had everything set, and as the game wears on, you kind of get used to them going fast. But I think once a team sees the offense change tempos, it's what gives them a little bit more grief.
When you look at, and you're a basketball fan, we've had basketball talks before.
Absolutely.
There's always that talk of when a coach slides over a seat, relationships change. How do your relationships change with the players now from going from quarterbacks coach to OC?
Well, I think the biggest thing is obviously me being responsible for every aspect that goes on in our offensive football team. So with that comes a little bit greater responsibility. So the dynamics of it have changed, and I look forward to cultivating those new relationships and building that as we go.
You said you've done everything early, 17 at college and now 24 as a coordinator, head coach at 30?
We'll see. But, I think that's the reason you get in this business, is obviously to watch Coach Whittingham grow as a head coach and just kind of be around him. That's my goal one day is to be like him. That's who I model my entire coaching philosophy after. I've learned so much from him, not only about football but about life as well. And he's been a great mentor to me, these last 8 years. So I can't say enough about the guy. He's been great. So I'm looking forward to working for him.
And you can rent a car anywhere in a couple weeks, right?
Couple weeks, 2 weeks from today, I'll be able to rent a car anywhere. So Hurts can chill out with all that.
He's gonna be as big a rock star as Norm Chow was. Everyone wanted to talk to him.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I can ever be as big of a rock star as Coach Chow, but I'm not all into that. I just want a productive offense and score some points and help us win the conference championship.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, thank you guys.
Thanks.